G'day, Macros and Flying Doggy here. Software deployment options. There's so many ways these days to deploy software with cloud and other things, enabling these things to be done so easily. In this video, I'm going to run through 5 ways to deploy software with the pros and cons of each, and some of my personal feedback on some of the options I've seen implemented in SaaS products that we've developed. All right, we're going to jump into this now. I'm going to link to the LinkedIn post where I got these from below. Fantastic drawings illustrate these deployment options really well, and one of these options is going to be best suited for your SaaS development. First one is Canary Releases. Canary Releases is a method of spotting possible issues before they affect all the consumers, making a new feature available to everyone. Players only show it to a select group of users, and in a Canary Release, we keep an eye on what transpires after the feature is made available. If we look at the diagram down here, we've got the Canary Release, we've got the load balancer at the front, and then we've got the existing software here, we've got the Canary Release here. So the idea here is that the load balancer is going to divert client 1 over to the existing product, client 2 to the existing product, and client 3 to the new version. And the idea here is that you're just putting a small amount of the release out into production and then seeing what happens. Does it fall over? Does it trigger a bunch of errors? Is there problems being raised in your support queue? Rather than deploying it to everyone at the same time and crashing everything, you're going to have essentially the canary in the column line that will say, the release is good or the release is bad. We have actually done this for a number of clients, particularly about clients of a larger size. Particularly when they get over the 50 to 100,000 users, they don't want to release out to everyone because rolling things back becomes very arduous. So my recommendation, if you've got a very large product with a number of users, I'd highly recommend using the Canary Release process. It's really good at illustrating those problems in production that you couldn't find in testing. Number 2, blue-green deployments. Here we have running 2 similar environments simultaneously, lowering the risk and downtime. The surroundings are referred to blue and green. So if you have a look down in this image, you've got 2 environments. You've got the load balancer, you've got the green environment, you've got the blue one. One is staging and one is production. And essentially what you're doing is you're swapping between the two. You deploy one release to one environment, that becomes production. You deploy one release to the other one, that becomes staging. And then next time you deploy, you essentially just swap them. The big thing about blue-green deployment is also it enables you to roll back very easily. Because you've got 2 environments on the go, one with the previous version, one with the new version, you can easily switch between the 2 versions. Blue-green deployments, to be honest, we don't do too much with. The problem with them is they are a little bit finicky on the infrastructure side, and also you're still swapping your entire user base from one to another, so you essentially may as well work out a better rollback plan and just do it into one environment. But in some instances, the blue-green deployment can work really well. It allows you to essentially have a secondary environment that you can simply roll back and forward between 2, and therefore, if something does go wrong, you can switch back really easily. Right, number 3, feature toggles. And to be honest, feature toggles is actually probably something you can do with some of these methods. I have seen feature toggles with, say, Canary Release method, because feature toggles can actually work within the code itself. Feature toggles, here we can turn on and off features with toggles at runtime. We may roll out new software without exposing our users, other brand new or modified functionality, or when we build a new functionality, we can use feature toggles to enable continuous deployments by splitting releases from developments. Now, the second point there is where I've really seen feature flags or feature toggles work really well. So you're building a really big piece of functionality and you don't want to stop your CI/CD pipeline. So what you want to do here is essentially you want to deploy some of the code into production, but not allow that feature to be turned on. So therefore you can release chunks over various sprints and have the feature flag turned off. Then after 3, 4, or 5 sprints, you've actually got the full feature into production. You can now turn on that feature toggle and make that available to users. As I mentioned, you can actually do this in conjunction with Canary Releases and or smaller feature flags. So you may have a larger feature that you can break down into smaller feature flags, turn the main feature flag off, and then maybe when you've released part of it, that it's become standalone, you can actually really turn on small parts of that feature. Again, this sort of helps in the deployment process. It helps in the CI/CD pipeline process, helps you get your product out to market faster. Feature flags or feature toggles are actually a really common way these days, and a lot of products I see have them. It's also a really good way at actually simplifying a product. If you look at it, when you're selling a product these days, it gets so feature rich that actually all the features are not required for every client. So feature toggles are a good way of hiding some of these features. I'll quickly run through the diagram here, but essentially feature toggles, you've got your application. Toggles are inside the application itself. Some users see the feature, other users don't. Depends on what feature toggle you got on for which users, but it essentially enables you to show some users the feature and other users not. All right, deployment option number 4, A/B testing. 2 versions of an app are compared using A/B testing to see which one performs better. An experiment is like A/B testing. In A/B testing, we present users with 2 or more pages. We present users with 2 or more versions of a page at random, then we use statistical analysis to determine which variant is more effective. So have a quick look at the diagram and then I'll explain some examples. So we've got the users here. They're going to go into the A/B test. 2 users go to option A, 2 users go to option B. They work out which option is going to be better, and then obviously you pick option B because it's coming out better. You may have heard this A and B testing more done within marketing, say an ad copy or video copy, etc., or landing page copy. But it is common also in deployments to work out what is the best functionality and feature-wise or layout or UX design that you want to use. Or you say you're going to try and deploy a new UX, UI design across a set of features. You don't know what exactly is the best, you've done a bit of market research, but you really want to test it. And so here you can deploy both sets of pages for an A/B testing front and see which is used better by users and use some of that data to work out which way to go. Again, can be used actually in conjunction with some of the initial deployment options I recommended, but A/B testing is really strong, particularly when you have a larger user base, to work through and work out some of those very minute details that may not seem very big, but they end up being really good user experience things. And A/B testing can really drill that out for you, because asking users what they actually want to do and them telling you what they actually do are two different things. So if you can get that hard data from the users, it's always better. Right, the fifth and final thing is dark launches. In a dark launch, introduce a new feature to a select group of users rather than the general public. These users are unaware that they are helping test the functionality. We don't even point out new functionality to them. It's nicknamed a dark launch for this reason. Users introduce the program so that we can get feedback and test its effectiveness. Quickly jump down to the dark launches image. We've got the load balancer again, and this actually looks, if you've probably guessed, much like a Canary release. You've got the version 1 up here, and then you've got the new feature down here. The difference here really is between this and Canary Releases is that you actually publicize the Canary release and let people know there is a functionality that's been released to a subset of users. In this one, you don't let them know. You've put it out there, you see which users are using it, see what errors are coming back, and then you can research and work out if there's errors or you're going to change and adopt it. This one's not done as often. I don't see this worked out very often. A lot of people try and be more transparent with their users so they know what's going on. What I have seen when they do these dark releases is that people actually raise support tickets because they're not aware it's meant to be there and they see something strange. So it can actually work in a negative. On the flip side though, if you've got a really back-end feature that people can't really see, or there's something you really need to test, you can release it in this way so that users are unaware of it. And therefore you can look at the data in the back end and work out if it's working the way you want before you actually release it to the wide audience. Essentially trying to get that real production test cases without the audience knowing. All right, that's 5 ways of deploying software into the cloud. Each of these options have their pros and cons, and each of the options have best and worst use cases. Hope this helps you get your software into production easier and quicker. If you're looking to build a SaaS product and need help with these deployment options, feel free to reach out.